Now, you may have noticed that this channel took a slight hiatus, a couple of weeks off, just to experiment with some new things, gap from the 30-second reviews, because the editing process it's cutting myself out of that video. It's quite difficult. So I wanted to try some new formats, and I think I've settled on one for 30-second reviews, so I expect them to come back later this week. But in the meantime, I also wanted to expand on the things done in this channel. I mentioned as much a few weeks back. The first thing I'm going to do is because the podcast is just too long for YouTube. It's regularly an hour and a half. Putting that up once a week is not very good. But as I go through the gaming news each day, I thought I'll pick out a couple of the stories from the ones that I'm selecting for the podcast and just talk a bit about them, highlight them, and basically give myself an excuse to record a video every day. Kind of vloggy type thing, despite the fact that I hate calling it that. But anyway, I'm going to minimise the screen I can see of myself so that I can actually see the stories that I've picked out. Now, as this is the first one, and as it's a weekend that's just happened, got to go back over a few stories, and one of the big stories of the weekend, well, for me anyway, was the fact that South Korea have banned bots and item trading. It's two separate laws, though some sites actually listed it as one, but in a double attack, they have banned the trade of virtual items for real-world cash. Now, we kind of knew this one was coming for the simple fact that Diablo 3's auction house real money auction house had to be taken out of the game before it would pass the censor board for release in South Korea. So somebody must have known it was coming for that to be the case. Now that this law has passed, and it will go into effect, I think it's next week or in 2 weeks' time. Now that that law's into effect, it means that it'll never reach that region, which is a bit of a blow for Blizzard, but then again, not at the same time, because they must have known it was coming. It's the other side of that is the second law, and that's the forbids the use of bots and scripts to farm items or gold. To me, this reads like we're just making sure here. They're making the argument that they're doing this because games should be fun, not a way of making money. I'm sorry, when did it become the government's right to, even in a country like South Korea, when did it become the government's right to dictate what we do with our spare time? If somebody wants to try and make a living out of gaming, you're in South Korea. This is the country where a lot of people make their money out of gaming. In pro tournaments. You kind of lost me here. But then, a part of the reason they want to ban scripts and bots is because of the reputation that they've got for gold sellers. They don't want to be associated with that. So, a bit of a toss-up there as to whether it's a good or a bad thing, but it does effectively mean Diablo 3's real money auction house is dead in South Korea. The other news story, that, again, this is a weird one. It's BioWare. Somebody at BioWare may have slipped up. Now, it's no secret that Star Wars: The Old Republic not doing as well as it could have done. It had a brilliant start, so lots of copies, and then after the first months started rolling down, they lost players, and then once the first quarter started ending, they started losing. Basically, they lost a lot of players very fast, and I'm pretty sure I predicted that would happen on the podcast, that people will play it, try it out, then if it's not for them, they'll move back to their regular MMO. And what happened is people tried it. Some who loved it are still there. and some who didn't have let their subscription end because they can't afford to be running 2 subscriptions at a time. I'm one of them. However, one of the lead designers, in an interview with GamesTM, pointed towards the fact that BioWare are looking at free-to-play as an option for Star Wars The Old Republic. This is... If you listen to the podcast, you will know I love saying this, but no shit Sherlock. If there's a single MMO out there that's not looking at free-to-play as an option, even the successful ones, Blizzard themselves have said they're looking at it as an option. If it ever became viable, they'd do it. For them, it's not viable yet. But just because BioWare are looking at it doesn't mean they're actually going to do it. It could be that this guy's words were taken out of context. We don't know because, quite frankly, the article about this was pulled from the GamesTM website within 24 hours. I don't have a copy of GamesTM physical print edition to read, so if somebody wants to find that interview and send me a screenshot of it, a picture of the pages, I'd love to read it. But I don't think there's that much to care about. I will say that if Star Wars went free to play, I'd probably give it a few more hours because I'd want to get a bit further through the storyline of my characters. I don't see myself subscribing anytime soon because, like I said, I can only afford 1 subscription at a time. And at the minute, that subscription money is earmarked for another game. But we'll move on from that because, well, there's I could rant for hours about the free-to-play market. It's a good market. It's a good system, but let's not get into that. And I'm going to quickly gloss over the next one because I realise now I've put this in because I was purely pissed off about it. The case of Anders Breivik. The Norwegian psychopath who went and killed 77 of his countrymen, is on trial. Now we know he's on trial, and they're trying to determine whether he's sane or not. I would say that the fact that he killed 77 people confirms that he's not. That is not a normal, sane thing to do. However, what's annoyed me about this case is the fact that they're trying to pin some of this on gaming. They're trying to pin it on gaming. He trained on Call of Duty. I'm sorry, nobody's trained for anything on Call of Duty. He trained on Call of Duty in the same way the 9/11 hijackers trained to crash into the World Trade Center on Flight Simulator. It just isn't fucking possible. Anyway, this week they had a psychiatrist on, and in this psychiatrist's defence, he's getting a bit of flack because he wasn't forced. He made the statement that anybody over the age of 20 who plays games alone is abnormal. Now that sounds very bad for what he said. However, you've got to put this. Most sites seem to forget the context of this. Right before saying that, he himself said that there is no form of expertise when it comes to video games. They basically said, I don't have the expertise to be able to make a claim about how video games affect people because nobody can. But then the judge asked him to make an opinion statement. Give his opinion on how games affect. And his opinion was that anybody over the age of 20 who plays video games alone is abnormal. Now, yeah, that's a bad opinion to have, but a lot of people of that generation still hold that opinion. if they looked at the statistics, they would probably find that in that scenario, the abnormal outweigh the normal quite significantly. I don't know of that many 20 plus year olds who do not play games in some way, shape or form. And it's just ridiculous to claim that it's abnormal. But then again, as I said, take the guy's words in context. Don't vilify this guy for being made to give an opinion. What is a problem, however, is blame culture. This entire thing of trying to pin it on games. It's not even that they're trying to pin it on games. That's not it for me. The entire Breivik problem is a problem in general, with the media, with the court system, with everything. In that something's got to be blamed for somebody doing something wrong. Why can it not just be that this guy was a fucking Fruit Loop and went off and killed somebody, and therefore he is the one to blame for his actions, not other things. Everything that they're talking about now is not a thing that can be blamed. It's a trigger, and if it wasn't there, he'd have found another trigger. His mind was that way inclined. It's the only explanation for something of this level. But again, despite saying that I didn't want to spend too long on that, I've already ranted for a bit. Moving on to the next story that's highlighted from today. Well, I read it today. I think it appeared online over the weekend. Draw something. It was good. It was good for a little while. And then it made the developer quite a lot of money when he flogged it to Zynga at just the peak of its popularity. And now it's losing players hand over fist. They're flying out that door faster than a fat man chasing a donut. It's ridiculous. However, Zynga being Zynga, they're out to milk this franchise that they've bought for all it's worth. So they started by selling words within the dictionary as advertising. Makes sense. It doesn't really impact the gameplay at all. Now they've sold the rights to the TV series. They are making a TV series of Draw Something with CBS, and I only have one thing to say about this. When the fuck did we rewind to the 90s? This show has been on television. It was called Win, Lose or Draw. It was in both the UK and the US, so it's not a secret little UK thing. It ran from the early to mid 90s. And it literally was Pictionary. And that's all Draw Something is. So, I hate to tell you this, CBS, but you've bought a flop. A flop that's a repeat of an existing flop. Enjoy. So we go from one stupid thing to another stupid thing, and that's the guys at EA. EA have, they seem to have got a bit forgetful in their old age. Last week, they made a statement against Steam sales. They said that Steam dropped their prices too low and the Steam sales devalue intellectual properties. Fair enough. Their opinion was, it was that developer's opinion, and he said what he felt. He also said, don't expect Origin to have these closing down sales and see games at 75%. We will have sales, but not to that level. Yeah, somebody might want to have checked his facts before making a statement like that, because this week they are currently having a sale on Origin where many of the games have been dropped by over 75%, some by as much as 87.5% of their original sale value. Pot, kettle. So when Steam do it, they're devaluing IPs. When you do it, it's all good. I don't know why to state that. And just to wrap up, because I don't want to go on for too much longer, there's a new set of NVIDIA GeForce drivers out. It boosts the performance in some games by up to 18%, and is actually improving quite a lot of other games by smaller amounts as well. And it's not just the top tier of cards, it's pretty much the whole series that's got a boost out of this one. And that's it. So I'm going to open up the comments. Well, the comments are always open, but I want comments if you've got any. Do you like this new format? Because I'm willing to change it at this point. So let me know, and I'll catch you tomorrow, because I've got to go over the news again then. Where the fuck's the off button?